Hello there, it's Mark Humphreys here. I've got a new video demonstration for you in which I'll be showing the use of the EBUScore pairs program for scoring a pairs duplicate bridge event. Now in my previous videos I've demonstrated the use of the program to cover the entire scoring procedure for a pairs event when you use BridgeMate scoring devices. But this demonstration is going to cover how to amend the movement during an event. So let's just first clarify why we would do that. In what situations would we want to change the movement? Well, there are several scenarios where it's actually beneficial to make a small change to the movement that you've already selected and have initiated after you've started the event. Making small changes in this way is just more efficient than the alternative, which would be closing the event, resetting the bridge mates and starting from scratch. Okay, and the obvious example of where you really would want to do this is in a situation where you've got a movement with half a table and suddenly just after the start of play or just after you've initiated the bridgemate scoring process, a new pair arrive, a latecomer pair arrive, and the director asks you if you can possibly incorporate that pair into the movement, because obviously it's for everyone's benefit. Then we eliminate a sit out and everyone's happy. So there's a very simple way to modify the movement to incorporate that, round up the movement to include that half pair, and I'm going to show you how to do that and give you the confidence to deal with that situation, which obviously is something that does come up quite often when you're scoring bridge events. There are a couple of other situations where you might want to amend the movement, perhaps if scorers you've forgotten to set up arrow switch, or in the situation where you're running out of time, the director asks you to reduce the number of rounds. There's a very neat way to do that from the EBUScore program. There are other ways to handle those situations, but this is probably the neatest ways to do it. Other ways I'm going to show you here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is jump to the program and we'll start running. So I'm initiating EBUScore pairs version 1.2.5. So this is the latest version available. It differs very slightly from the version I've used in my previous training videos. You'll see some of the menus are different colors, and in general the menus are a little bit more intuitive, clearer and easier to use than they were in previous versions. So that shouldn't confuse anybody here. It's exactly the same scoring process and procedure. So I'm going to run through the procedure really quickly for setting up a pairs event, and then we're going to show you how to change the movement for it. So just to set up the pairs event, obviously if you're struggling with any of this, please refer to my previous training videos which take you through this in quite a lot of detail, but I'm going to run through this really quickly now. So pairs events, I'm going to create a new event. I'm going to call it demo. Normally in our standard procedure at our club we'd import the deal at this phase. We use pre-computer dealt hands, and so it's always beneficial to import the deal file at this stage of the process. I don't need to do that for the purposes of what I'm showing you here, so I'm not doing it in this situation. Okay, so we've logged the event details. Next step in the process is to select the movement. So I'm going to simulate a situation where we set up the movement initially for a situation where we've got 8.5 tables. So to do that, to deal with 8.5 tables, the first step is always when selecting the movement is to enter the number of tables. So 8.5 you round up to 9 and you put in 9 in this little menu area here, and the selections are available to us. For 9 tables, the standard Mitchell movement works absolutely beautifully. Of course, it's really the obvious choice for that situation. So I'd like to play the standard Mitchell. I'll set it up for 9 rounds, 27 boards. But the one thing that's different, of course, is we've only got 8.5 tables. So we do need to specify that there is a missing pair. And in this situation, sorry, I click in the wrong area there. In this situation, we'll specify the missing pair as pair 1. So north-south on table 1 is a missing pair, and we can check that. So it's always good practice before you go ahead and click OK on selecting your movement. Always good practice to click on show the movement. So this, when you do that, a notepad file opens on screen, and it just shows you the movement that the program is going to use and that the program will send to the database that controls the BridgeMate controlling devices, the BridgeMate scoring devices. So here's the movement that you are specifying, and as you can see, it's a standard Mitchell movement, nothing special about that at all. And at table 1 there is no north-south pair. So as east-west arrive at table 1, that round would be a sit-out. Okay, nothing more to look at on that movement at this point. So we're okay with that. We'd close that down. So we're now okay to select the movement. We get a confirmation. We'd check the details and confirm, of course, and that's fine. Okay, next step in the process is of course to initiate bridgemate scoring. So you've selected the movement, but you haven't yet told the bridgemates to work following that movement. So this is the stage now where this is the last stage in the process before play it begins. We click on bridgemate scoring, and if you followed my previous videos, you'll notice this screen does look a little bit different, but it's still basically the same process as you create the database. The reset server button needs to be ticked, and you launch BCS. So we click on launch BCS, we get a confirmation which we would say yes for. And at this stage what normally happens is the software that controls the bridgemate scoring devices on your tabletops, that becomes active, that becomes operated from EBUScore, kicks that program off, and you'll see a window that operates the bridgemate control software would open up. I haven't got that software or bridgemates connected to this PC, but the procedure is exactly the same. I'm using a special test version of the program here that I can simulate that on. So whilst I haven't got bridgemates connected, it really doesn't change with these steps of the process that I'm going to show you. Okay, so let's assume now we're just about to sit down and play, because that's the stage we've got to. Really the session is ready to run. We're about to sit down and play, and suddenly a latecomer pair arrive, and the director asks you if you're able to incorporate them into the movement. And of course you are, because I'm going to show you a very easy way to do this. So the easy way to do this is from this bridgemate control screen, just go back, press return, go back to the event menu, go back into select the movement. And now, where you'd previously selected the movement shown with a missing pair, all you do is you go into where the missing pair is and you deselect them. And now say there is no missing pair. And you can show the movement again just to check that. And as you can see now, north-south at pair 1, pair 1, which is north-south at table 1, are now incorporated into the movement. So the latecomer pair become north-south at pair 1 in this situation. So that's brilliant. That's exactly what we'd like to have. One thing to point out here is there is an option now that says retain results if possible. You want to tick that if you can. So what happens there is any scores that have already been entered are still retained, because obviously the change you're making here doesn't really affect anything that's going on at other tables. So if people have already entered scores, we want to retain those results if possible. So we'll click OK. And we get the option to confirm the change to the movement, and that's exactly what we want. Okay, so the computer now knows, or the EBUScore program in the computer now knows it's working to a different movement, but we haven't yet told the bridgemate devices that we've done that. So to deal with that, there's an option called update the movement. So what we would now do is click on update the movement, but by default that's always set at update from round 2. You can actually change that. If this is happening right at the beginning of the event, you can select round 1, and there's no reason why you wouldn't do that in this situation. So you can update from round 1, and then what happens then is the new pair are incorporated into the movement from round 1. And if I do that, I get that option there just to confirm, and I would do that. And what would happen now is that the bridgemate devices, the next time they contact the server, which is probably about every 30 seconds or a minute, would then update. And when I've tested this for real, the bridgemate device at table 1 now goes from showing a sit-out round to asking for the would now go to asking for the names and identities of the north-south players, and would assume that round 1 is going to play as per normal for that movement. So boards 1 to 3 will now be played with pair 1 against pair 10 for that movement. Okay, that's a really simple way. So trust me, that's exactly what happens. I've verified it on our club, and if you do that for real, that's exactly how it works. So that's the first situation I wanted to show you. Very, very simple way of just adding another pair into a movement and solving a potential problem. Okay, so here's a second situation. Now, what I'm showing you here is we've still got the Bridgemate scoring screen open. Round one has passed, has been completed because there's a blue row there to show the results for round one are in. And at this point, you suddenly are concerned, did I specify an arrow switch for this movement? I want to play a single winner Mitchell, and I can't remember if I did it. And of course, if you remember when I did set that up, that's exactly the error I made here. So let me just make this a bit bigger to make it clearer. What I'm going to do is deal with that. So let's go back and check whether we've actually got an arrow switch incorporated into the movement, and if necessary, we'll fix that problem. Okay, so I'm going to go to return. I go back to the event menu. I go back into select the movement, and I can have a look at the movement once again. And as I can see, actually, we forgot to specify the arrow switch in this particular movement. Okay, let's fix that problem now. That's very, very easy. We'll click on one winner Mitchell. We'll specify the arrow switch for round 9. We'll click OK. Before we do that, we'll show the movement again. And as you can see now, there is an arrow switch incorporated in round 9, so that's exactly what we want. We're going to click OK. Again, get the confirmation. Now we go back to the Bridgemate scoring screen, and we want to update that. Now we don't want to update from round 1. We want to update from a round that's later than where we currently are. So I'm going to ask it to update from about round 7 when it gets to there, and that would be absolutely fine. I'll click on update the movement, and that's it. When it gets to round 7, it would incorporate that arrow switch situation. So that's good. Okay, so that's dealt with the situation where you've forgotten the arrow switch, and there are other situations to deal with as well. So let's think about that situation. So the last situation I want to show you is the situation where perhaps the evening is proceeding a little bit slowly. The director is asking you, can you eliminate the last round? We're all going a bit slow, and we want to eliminate round 9. Okay, so there are lots of ways of dealing with that. Let's go back again and do that through select movement and updating the movement. But as I say, there are other ways to do this. But in this way, what we'll do now, we go back to the movement that we've selected. All we do is specify 8 rounds. Again, we want to retain any results as we're updating. Now, because we're only specifying 8 rounds, we do of course need to change that arrow switch round, and let's arrow switch on the last round, which will now be round 8. Okay, so again, show the movement, and it's there on screen, and we're happy with that. We'll check that in detail. Press OK, confirm the details. Go back to Bridgemate scoring, and again we can update the movement from round number 7. So let's do that one more time. We'll update that, and the movement's now updated. Okay, and that is all you need to do. So I'll close that down, and we'll just round this session up. So what we've really covered there is the 3 scenarios where you update the movement during play. If you need further help on this, I have published a document that I call Common Problems and How to Fix Them. So there's a little bit more detail in that document just to record how you do that procedure. That's available on the link on screen there. If you can't get it via that link, you can always email me and I'll send out anyone a copy. It's a useful document. I'm happy to share it with anybody who needs to do that. Okay, so the things that I will cover in another video, the thing we haven't covered here is the situation where perhaps you need to make a larger change to the movement, or you're not happy making a change to the movement. In that situation, there is the only recourse really is to cancel the event and restart. And the thing that gets tricky there and catches some people out is resetting the bridge mates. So in my next video, I'll actually show you how to do that, how to exit an event, restart a new one, and reset the bridge mates so that the new event will start as required. That's all I have on this film. I hope you found it useful. If you've got any comments, there's my email address, and I'd love to hear from people if you think there's anything else you'd like to cover in some of these training videos, or if you find these useful. But for now, that's great. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye now.